Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Reata Horsemanship. I'm Luke Brown, and today I'm at my friend Steve's house, and we're going to work with a colt that's 7 months old. His name is Dax. He's a purebred saddlebred, correct?
Correct.
He's a purebred saddlebred. He's right here. He's a chestnut saddlebred. And you can see he's real mouthy. He's grabbing this hose. One of the problems that Steve's been having with him is he's getting harder and harder to handle. He's real mouthy, and he's also getting harder to bridle. Or not to bridle, to halter. So with Steve today, I'm gonna interview Steve a little bit and have him talk about Dax, and then we're gonna watch Steve try to halter Dax and work with him. And then I'm gonna come in and hopefully correct some of those issues and show Steve where maybe he can help Dax a little bit. So we're gonna get started here.
So Dax is, like Luke said, 7 months old. He's an American saddlebred, and my plan with him is to get him in a weanling show October 7th, but I've noticed lately he's becoming harder and harder to handle and get his halter on. He's very mouthy. He leads with his mouth, so everything he does when you're in his stall is by way of mouth. I have got his halter on before, and I can lead him out to the round pen, to the arena, but it seems like it's getting a little bit dangerous. He does rear, and he'll rear until he can pull the lead rope out of my hand. So appreciate Luke coming over today to help me figure this out.
Sounds good. Okay, jump in there and just work with him, and we'll see how it goes here.
So I usually try to just kind of catch him off guard to get it, because he just continually wants to be curious of getting the halter. I've tried to hold his head down, but he will stripe out, so I kind of get a little bit leery of getting struck. And then I try to divert his attention by giving him something to put in his mouth so I can slip the halter on. So that's been a couple things I've tried. So he'll come grab the halter now. So I've got to put that out of the way.
Yeah, he's definitely very mouthy.
And when he grabs, he doesn't know how to let go. So it's like you... But once I get it on, he kind of...
So he'll try to strike out at you if you're not careful.
So that was probably the quickest within the last week that I've got hit the halter on. And now he's just mouthy, and he won't stay out of my space. So when I do this, he should be moving back.
Yeah, so he's getting to that point where he's starting to push you around. He's getting a lot of confidence that he's your boss, he's your leader.
Yeah.
That's what
I work for him now.
Yeah. Just like some parents work for their 2-year-olds, right?
Right. So he's got my number. Getting it off isn't near. Do you want me to take it back off?
Sure. Why don't you take it off and then put it back on one more time?
So it seems if there's something in his mouth while I'm doing it, it's distracting to him, and it makes things easier.
Gotcha. It's like his binky.
It's like his binky.
Has he actually struck you?
Yeah.
Has he ever kicked you?
He has not kicked me.
But he'll use those front feet.
He'll use his front feet. No, no.
Okay.
I don't think he's malicious. He just doesn't know. But what I'd like help on is trying to gain some respect out of him.
Okay.
Because like right now, he's just all, I'm bigger than you.
Have you ever used a flag on him?
No.
Okay. All right, go ahead and take it off.
But I have taken a crop in before just to hit him on his flank, his chest, to back him up.
Okay. And then you had somebody give you some advice a couple weeks ago about how to handle him. Now, did that person come over and work with you on haltering him? Or was it something else they were working on?
No, just looking at it. I had him haltered up, and we were just doing some small lunging out in this area out here in front of the horses. Just trying to get him to move his feet.
Okay.
And that person suggested that I don't round pin him. I don't use any tools.
Okay.
Just the halter.
No
just
stick, no
rope.
flag.
Right.
Just a lead rope. Okay. He's got a hold of that lead rope now. He's dang cute, and he's 7 months old, right?
Yes.
Just want to. Okay. And he's still a stud. He's stud colt.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So now I'm going to have Steve video me, and I'm going to work with him and talk to Steve about some of the things that I would suggest. Okay, first thing that I'm going to do is I'm not going to tolerate that. So he went to nip my arm, and I'm going to put him in his place real fast. And some people might not like what I just did, but see how he walked over there, now he's out of my space? If he comes into my space and I didn't ask him to, I'm going to put him in his place. Even from out here, outside of this stall, I want to start putting him in his place. He's starting to shake his head a little bit. He's thinking a little bit like, I don't know if I want to mess with this guy. This is a stud colt that could get very dangerous. In a couple months, he might get to the point where he's taking a chunk out of your arm. So, and I know one of the things that I suggested, see how he's just standing there quietly? He was. One of the things I suggested was before you take him to the halter class, make sure to, well, you're gonna castrate him, right?
Right.
So I wanted to get some film on how to work with a stud colt before we castrated him. But I think one of the most important things to do is go ahead and castrate him, and that's going to take away that heavy testosterone that he's starting to build. And so that time, I gave him a warning. I clucked, I went like this, and then I moved my halter and tapped him with my halter. So I'm starting to give him light cues. So I'm going to say, hey, back up, and if he didn't back up, then I came in with heavier pressure. Initially, he went to nip at me, at my arm, and I just went back right quickly, because you really have to, in my opinion, you have to retaliate quickly. If you miss that moment, if he comes at me and then I get after him after, or I just kind of tolerate it, he's just going to keep coming at me. So now you can see that he's just standing back there. He's not coming in trying to nip at me. Now I'm going to start to work inside. Another thing that I would suggest, besides getting him, so he's going to get castrated next week, and probably within 2 to 4 weeks, his behavior is going to be a whole lot better. And I think, see, that time I asked him to back up. He did a little bit, and then he started to ignore me. I put higher pressure on him. So remember, to be fair to a horse, unless he's attacking me, unless he's coming in quickly, I'm going to ask him lightly, and we do this on the ground, we do this in the saddle. I'm going to ask him lightly, then I'm going to build my pressure, and then come in and put some high pressure on him to get him to convince him that he should be doing something different. Okay, so that's number one. Get him castrated next week. That's going to make a big difference. But let's see if we can make a change in him, even though he still has his testicles. And I think I see a change already. He's standing over there. He's not getting in my space. So number one right now is I'm going to make sure he doesn't come into my space unless I ask him to. That's number one. So one thing I noticed, Steve, is at the end, and I wanted to do it a couple times so I could kind of get some of the mistakes you were making. And one of the things that you do this, but this doesn't mean anything to him because you're not coming in with higher pressure. So yes, eventually you want to do this and see that. See, I did that and he moved away from me. But that's because he knows higher pressure is coming. But if he doesn't know higher pressure is coming, then this means nothing to him. You're really just desensitizing him.
Is that like promise of pressure?
Exactly. Pat Pirelli, promise of pressure. So when I say this, I promise you higher pressure is coming if you don't move off. And then that creates leadership. Then I become his leader. It's not at all abusive, it's leadership. So I'm telling you, you better move out of my space, even right here. Let's see if he'll see that. He's moving out of my space. He's watching me. He's paying attention. And how did I get him to do that? Now he's not over here trying to grab me because I gave him the promise of pressure and I fulfilled on that promise. It's like a mother who nags their child and says, hey, if you don't do this, you're going to go into timeout. And then they do it again and they say, oh, if you don't do this, you're going to go to timeout. And then they do it again. If you don't do this, I'm going to take your toys away. They do it again. And the next day they still have their toys. So you have to be true to your word. So if you're going to say something, and this is saying something to him, I'm telling him, hey, you better move out of my space or I'm going to have higher pressure coming at you. And same thing with kids, same thing in a work environment. You just make sure that you fulfill your word. And so, and Steve, you were telling me this the other day, that you would do this and he wasn't getting out of your way. And I knew that was exactly what was going to happen today because of what you had told me. You're going to do this and he's just going to stay in your space, keep trying to nip at you, follow you around. So at the end, you were walking around trying to get out of his way. And this is what we've been working on with our training is moving your feet forward. If you want space between you and your horse, he should move his feet away from you. In almost every case, if I want to create space, I want him to move his feet. So, that being said, let's jump in and get after it. Now I'm going to keep an eye on him. So I established already from the outside, I established some respect already. He's not coming up to me. He's looking at me. He's watching me. He's not trying to nip at me. Another thing that I like to do is I actually like to, when I'm haltering, most of the time, I like to put the lead rope on the halter from the get-go. If I have the lead rope in my hand and it's hooked to the halter, then I can use that lead rope to put over his neck and kind of control him while I'm putting the halter on. So if I don't have any control over his neck and I'm trying to put the halter on, then he's throwing his head, he might spin around. He might spin around and kick me. He might move towards me and strike me. So I'm going to start with this. Now what I might do in here, this is like a mini round pin. And I'm just going to push him around a little bit. So I'm establishing that leadership. Now this is a small space. It's 16 by 20. Is that what it is? So it's a small round pin or a square pin. Okay, now I'm going to step out in front of him. Let's see if I can get his attention. Good. Change the other direction. So just moving him around a little bit. But I'm watching out because, he could strike at me, he could kick at me. See that? He thought about kicking. He doesn't like me moving his feet. Oh. Step out. Now, I'm looking for him to look towards me right there. Now, see, he's licking and chewing. And I'm going to take the pressure away. Come over here. Good boy. Now let's see if I can get him to start to follow me a little bit. So I'm going to walk in a circular motion towards his hip. So I circle towards his hip. Good. Now he started to come towards me, but he got too aggressive, so I put him back in his place. I want him to follow me, but not chase me. And that's one of the reasons I was debating about having a flag in here, because a flag, you can put a lot of pressure on him if he gets too aggressive. But we'll try it with just the halter here. Licking and chewing. Try to keep that distance because he kicked out. But I'm not gonna get after him too much right now about that. He's far enough away from me. I'm just gonna let him kind of do his thing. Approach and retreat a couple times.
And the timing on this approach and retreat is critical, right?
It is, yes. Yeah,
before he does.
So my approach and retreat here is just getting him. When I retreat is when he kind of relaxes and smells me, and then I'll retreat, kind of go away. So I'm not bothering him too much. I want him to feel comfortable with me being up in his space. See how he's not being mouthy to me right now?
Yeah.
If he did get mouthy, I'm just gonna real quickly just kind of put some pressure on him. I might tap his muzzle. Now right there, he kind of started pushing his muzzle towards me. Instead of just sitting there and letting me rub on him, he started getting a little bit aggressive. All I did was squeeze his nose. That was enough pressure to change right there. I squeezed his nose. I rub him here. Squeeze his nose. Now I got to be careful because he might. So he went to nip at me. I just tapped him on the neck. Now, how long has he been nipping at you?
Too long.
Okay.
I've let it go on too long.
Like, would you say over a month?
Yeah.
Okay. Now he's a little nervous about me, and that's okay. I'd rather him be a little nervous about me initially, and then we'll start to develop that relationship again. But I don't want him thinking he can nip at me. Right there, he looked at me, so I'm going to walk away. Let's see if I can get him following me around here. So when I walk away at a 45-degree angle, meaning I take my shoulders and I move 45 degrees from him, and then I start to walk away. That seems to help draw him towards me. If I walk away at a 90-degree or 100, if I turn all the way around and walk away, then that means, for me, that means he should stay still. But if I circle away at a 45-degree angle like this, I want him to follow me. Put a little pressure on his hip. Good boy. I'm going to approach him. Okay, now I'm going to walk away. Let's see if I can get him to follow me. So when I'm looking at his hip, that's pressure. Good, he took a step towards me, walk away. Circle towards his hip, and of course we're in a spot where it's kind of hard to do that. Good boy. Circle towards his hip. So notice I haven't even tried to put the halter on yet. Could I have already put the halter on? Yes, of course. But I'm trying to establish that foundational mindset that we're looking for. He's ignoring me a little, so I put a little more pressure by swinging my rope, my lead rope. Good boy. So when foals are with their mamas and their mama wants them to get moving around, they'll push at their hips and then they'll push towards their hips and get the foal to follow them. And this is exactly what we're doing when we're round pinning. A little extra pressure. What I'm looking for is for him to face me a little bit more. If he'll look at me or start to take a step towards me, then instead of circling towards his hip, I'll move more away from him. A little extra pressure. That time he turned away from me, he turned his butt away from me. So I put some extra pressure, sent him the same way. So he tried to turn left by turning away from me. But when he turns around, I want him to face me. Always aware that he could try to kick me. I'm going to try to be out of his kick zone. Keeping an eye on his head and his shoulders. There he goes. There he goes. Do you see that?
Yep. Nice change. Nice change.
So he turned 90 degrees off of that circle and faced me and started to walk towards me. So what I do, I'm as far away from him as I can, and see how I'm got my leg up here and I'm just chilled. I want him to see that I'm nice and relaxed, that he did a right thing, and I'm just going to give him a little break.
So you're saying that's your neutral position, not asking for anything.
Yep.
Everything's good.
Yep. This tells him great job. You did a good job. Now we're going to probably start. I might get him to follow me a little bit. Now, if he comes up to me, I'm cool with that. I love that. Now we're going to start going in a left circle. See how he's faced so he can go left. So I'm going to circle to this side. So we're doing a left circle. Turned away from me. Put pressure on him. Go left. Put pressure on him. Go left. Pressure on him. Pressure. Good. See how he turns his butt to me? I had a mare one time. I was in a stall probably about 3 times this big, but the guy couldn't catch the mare for 2 years. He wasn't able to catch her. And I got her in a spot where I could start working on this, and she got in a position where she was in the corner, and she kicked out and missed me by about a foot. Keep driving towards his hip. I'm waiting for him to look in towards me. Nope. Wrong answer.
We're looking for the same kind of change as he did the other direction.
Absolutely.
Stop and look.
Yep. Looking for him to look towards me. There he goes. Now, it might look like I was running from him this whole time, but I was actually driving him around. He's licking and chewing. So he didn't look in as much as he did on the other side, but he did some, right?
He did some.
So I'm going to keep doing this until I get him to just follow me around quietly. Once I get him following me around quietly, then I'll start focusing on putting that halter on. He's reaching back there. I'm not going to worry about that too much. Okay, now I'm going to circle towards his hip. Wrong answer. Now, if you have a horse that's a lot bigger and more dangerous, there he goes. That was a lot quicker.
Yep.
So if you have a horse that's a lot bigger and more dangerous, you don't have much room to get away from a kick in here or a strike. So I would definitely, like, if he was bigger and more aggressive and dangerous, I would take him, I'd put him in a bigger area, put him in the round pen, somehow get him over to the round pen. I wouldn't be doing this in here because it's just too limited space. I could get really hurt in here. So just keep that in mind.
Okay.
Ah, look at that. So see, I'm going towards his hip. There he goes. Good boy. Now I'm going to go towards his hip on this side. Good boy. Oh, that's beautiful. Now, if he basically comes up to me, I'm going to give him a good rub. Good boy. And then let him follow me this way. Notice I circle towards his hip. Good. Good boy. As long as he doesn't go to nip at me, I'm just going to be real nice to him. Okay, he's ignoring me. He's like, mugshot, mugshot. Oh, Dax, you're a cute little guy, aren't you? Good boy. Good. So sometimes the pressure can just be a sound. I'll just cluck. Waiting for that change. Good boy. Circle towards his hip. Ah, good boy. That's a good boy. So he's a little nervous about me reaching my hand up there, right? Because I whacked him a couple times. But that's a good problem to have on a horse initially when a horse is being real aggressive and nippy. So now I start teaching him, hey, as long as you're doing the right thing, I'm going to reach my hand up here and rub on you and make that feel good. He went to nip a little bit at my shoulder. I just raised my elbow, got in his way, bumped his muzzle a little. That's very good. Now, if he starts following me around and starts feeling a little aggressive and starts to strike out or rear up as he's coming towards me, as he's following me here, then I'm going to just go right at him and put pressure on him and move him away.
And go right back to moving his feet around.
Uh-huh. He can follow me as long as, and I make this easy on him, as long as he's being a gentleman.
He thought about it.
Yep, he did.
And then he thought about it.
Uh-huh. He thought about getting a little ornery there. And I if you watch, when I'm carrying this halter and lead rope, I've always got a tail in my hand because I want to, if he gets aggressive with me, I'm coming in with this lead rope. I'm going to tap him with it. So I want him to pay attention to me. So if he ignores me, put a little pressure on him, move him around. Good boy.
That's pretty nice.
Have you seen him be that nice close up before? I mean, in the last couple months?
Yeah, for a couple seconds.
Yeah. That can make his life feel really good. I can start scratching on him. I'm okay if he smells me, but if he goes to nip at all, I'm bringing my elbow up.
That's what I was going to say. So you're okay with him being as close as he is being a gentleman?
Yes.
The wrong move, he's in trouble.
Yep. And right there, he just went to bite at my lead rope, and all I did was raise it up like that. And that was enough to change his mind. Now, if he got more aggressive with it and just kept coming at it, then I'm going to push him off. I'm going to put more pressure on him, push him off. Now let's see. Back him up a little. Good.
Ooh, that was awesome.
Straight back, huh? Good. So I'm already starting to be able to back him out of my space correctly without even using the halter lead rope. Okay, I kind of like where he's at right now.